Over the next 24 hours, I'm going to try and fast pack a trail that most people take 4 days to backpack. I want to see if fast packing is a fun way to move quickly and see a lot of trail, or if it's a sufferfest that doesn't allow you to stop and smell the roses. I'm going to be dealing with a lot of very steep elevation gain and loss on this trip, as well as gear limitations in order to achieve a base pack weight of only 7 pounds. And then to top it all off, I have to reach the midpoint campsite location or risk illegally camping within the national park. The trail that I'm on is called the Rockwall Trail. It's 60 kilometers in the Canadian Rockies and is a very popular backpacking trail and even sees quite a few fast packers. But what I'm doing different is I'm going in the opposite direction of most fast packers. Most people, they start at the south end and then have their harder day as day one and then have a nice easy day two gradual decline to run out back to the parking lot. I'm starting on the easier day and then I'm gonna have a very tough day two with a ton of elevation gain, a lot of elevation loss. It's gonna be a lot harder to run that part of the trail. As well, I know that section has a lot more bears, so I'm gonna have to be on my toes, keeping an ear out, yelling a lot in order to not sneak up on a bear as I'm trying to run the trail. The pack that I'm using is the Gossamer Gear Fast Kumo. It's made for fast packing and running. It has running vest, shoulder straps, 2 serum straps, and then a waistband as well. It's carrying the 15 pounds I have in it very well. 15 pounds is quite a bit more than I was hoping for this trip. I was hoping to get around 12, but I made some gear choices that are gonna have me sleeping a little bit more comfortably. There might be some bugs up at the campsite, so I wanted to have a fully enclosed shelter. I'm gonna try and run as much of the trail as possible. I do a lot of running at home, but usually it's only for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So trying to run for a full day is probably not in the cards, but as much as I can when I'm on these flatter sections or going downhill, I'm gonna try and run it in order to make up time, because I'm gonna have to be moving pretty quick in order to make it to the campsite today and then to make it back to my car before it gets dark tomorrow. As I hit hills, that's when I definitely start walking, or if my legs are starting to feel a little bit tired, then I'll walk for a bit, take a break. But the goal is to keep a 5 to 6 kilometer an hour average pace. So that requires me to be running probably for about a third to half the time today, and then probably for half the time tomorrow for sure, because I have a lot more mileage to cover tomorrow, about 50% more. Hey, Bert. Excuse me.
Sorry.
Getting our first view of the Rockwall on the left side there. There are some pretty epic views on this trail. We're only getting started right now. There's Helmet Falls. I'm gonna stop at the campground that most people stop at, Helmet Campground right down there, and then take a break, then head up this ridge to get up to the Rockwall area. It's nice to sit down, take a load off. I'm moving pretty fast, 5 kilometers an hour, which is about what I wanted to do today. I didn't want to go too hard, too much on this first day, because I know I have a much bigger day tomorrow, a lot more elevation, and then about 50% more distance. So yeah, trying to take it easy. It's about 2:30 right now, stopping and take a break, drink some water. For water, I'm using these Solomon soft flasks, 500 milliliters. Just really quick to scoop water up, throw it into my running vest, and drink as I go. Just I can lean down, take a sip of water. It's really good. And then most of my calories are coming from fruit bars and then these Pro bars, which have 370 calories, so very calorie dense. And then, like I said, for dinner tonight, I'm gonna be having a full cook-on dinner that's like 900 calories. Really looking forward to that. And I have a little tweak to my cook system, my Ultralight cook system, so I'll share that with you once we get to camp. I passed a park warden a little ways back who was checking permits, which is really nice to see. And I told him what my plan was for this trip and what I was gonna be doing tomorrow. And he just kind of laughed and said, good luck. Just stopping to smell the roses. Look at that view and that waterfall. So we're gonna be dropping down to this little area, seeing some nice little glacial lakes, and then cutting up and taking this ridge up into the Alpine. And from there, get some nice views of the Rockwall. I'm feeling pretty beat up right now, which is pretty sad because it's about half the distance that I'm gonna have to cover tomorrow and less elevation overall. Rockwall is pretty insane, but even with how beautiful it is, to me it's probably only the second, maybe even only the third best view on the entire trail. So we're in for a treat tomorrow. I've been really taking it easy, working my way up to this pass and this view here. And something that's been super critical for that is my Garmin Enduro 2 watch. I use this in order to keep track of my heart rate as well as my speed and find a nice balance. Like I said, I've been trying to keep a speed of about 5 kilometers an hour average. And then I'm also trying to keep my heart rate under 150. So what I'll do is I'll run until my heart rate hits 150, and then I'll stop, walk for a bit, allow it to come down to about 120. And then once it's 120, then I know that I'm good to go for a run again. So the main Rockwall trail kind of goes along the base of this big mountain here towards that glacier, and then down into Tumbling Creek. But I'm gonna be heading this way to Wolverine Pass in order to get outside the park. I don't have any reservations inside the park, so I got to get outside the park in order to camp, not illegally. Made it to camp. So I'm gonna get my tent set up, my sleep system set up. I'm using a Quilty Enlightened Equipment Revelation. It's 950 power fill down, 70 near shell fabric. It's insanely light. It's a 40-degree version, which should keep me warm tonight. We'll see. And then I did bring a pillow, the Trekology 2.0. I get such a better sleep when I have a pillow. Other than the clothes that I'm wearing, which we'll get into tomorrow, I brought a merino wool toque and then a down sweater made by Patagonia. This thing is insanely light, weighing only 150 grams. And the toque is to keep my head warm, but also in order to cover my eyes so that I can go to bed when it's still light and then wake up after it's been light for a little bit. The reason I went with the Plex Solo tent instead of the Z-Packs Hexamid tarp, which is about half the weight, is because of bugs. This time of year in the Canadian Rockies is pretty bad for bugs. As the sun's starting to go behind the mountain there, the mosquitoes are already coming out and starting to bother me, and then horseflies have been out as well. So having the full mesh enclosure is really nice. And the Plex Solo isn't super heavy, weighing around 300 grams. I do have my Ursax. This is adding quite a bit of weight to my entire kit. I'm in extreme grizzly bear country. I've seen a lot of scat so far. People have told me on trail that they've seen grizzly bears. Like I said at the beginning, they're more on the south end of the trail. So tomorrow is really gonna be, we're gonna have to be calling out a lot, staying vigilant and on my toes. I got my bear spray. I have it tucked in to the left side of my pack in a very easy to grab place. So I could just reach back, stick a finger through, pull it out, flip off the safety and spray a bear, which I've had to do. I've been charged by a grizzly bear while hiking the Great Divide Trail. And luckily I was able to spray it with the bear spray and have it run off. For dinner today, it's made by ReadyWise, but it's from their Pro menu. So this is country style chicken pot pie, which is probably kind of like biscuits and gravy a little bit, but with chicken. For my cook kit, this is brought to you by the sponsor of this trip, Garage Growing Gear. Everything that's in this really kind of cute cook kit can be found at Garage Growing Gear. It's my favorite place for ultralight gear. First, we have the Toaks Light 550 milliliter pot. This thing is insanely light. There's no handles on this pot, which is okay because I have this little cute pot grabber made by Suluk 46. And it's made of carbon fiber, weighs 3 grams, which is about 9 grams less than the handles on the handled version of this pot. So with this pot gripper, I can grab a really hot pot, pour it into my meal, and I'm good to go. For reference, these little pot grippers can only pick up about 500, 600 milliliters of water. For the carbon fiber version, they make an aluminum version and a bigger version that can handle bigger loads. So just keep that in mind as you're ordering this. Only get the carbon fiber small version if you are gonna be using an ultralight pot and not putting a lot of water in it. The stove that I'm using is probably not a surprise to anyone. It's the BRS 3000 stove. It weighs 25 grams, and I've had this one for probably 5, maybe even 6 years, and it's still going strong. This entire kit, the pot, the stove, the pot gripper, even the elastic comes in at 178 grams. You don't get much lighter than that. And for reference, a Jetboil weighs 3 times that much. So this is an insanely lightweight system. And Garage Growing Gear is the only store where you can get all 3 of these items in one place. You don't have to go to 3 different websites and have 3 different orders coming in. You go to Garage Growing Gear, it's really simple. They'll get it shipped out to you very quickly. And shipping will be free if you get all 3 of these items because they have free shipping over $40. I did bring my pink titanium spoon on this trip. If I'm somehow able to make it through tomorrow and the insane elevation and kilometers and bears, it's probably going to be because of this pink spoon. This is actually looking real good. Looking forward to this. I'm starving. Ah, starving monster. I'm pretty beat, so I'm gonna be heading to bed. I'll let you guys know in the morning how I slept and how the entire sleep system worked out for me. Tomorrow promises to be a pretty tough day. It'll definitely be testing that question of whether fast packing is a sufferfest or whether it's worth it and allows you to see a lot more area a lot quicker. Good morning. I slept okay. It wasn't the best sleep that I've ever had, but it wasn't terrible. I was on the Zoom UL sleeping pad, which in the past for me has slept pretty cold, but luckily temperatures are very warm right now. It got down to about 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and then the ground is super warm as well, so I didn't have a lot of cold coming up through the ground. And then my top quilt was warm, no problem. The plan this morning is to eat a bar. I already got my ursack from the tree down there. This is the only thing that I'm having for breakfast today. Pack up really quickly and then do my morning business and hit the trail. Let's do this. I got a little dehydrated yesterday, so I want to stay on top of that today. To help with hydration, I do have a couple tools with me. I have gnarly nutrition packs, which have 200 calories and then 500 milligrams of sodium. And then I have Element electrolyte packs, which have 1,000 milligrams of sodium. So I'm gonna take one of these right now in order to kind of get my electrolytes all buffered up for the rest of the day. We're starting the day with a little downhill, then a little uphill, and then we're gonna be getting to an insane downhill and then the insane uphill, the biggest uphill of the entire trip. Not looking forward to that. Try and drink as much water as I can before heading up this uphill. Whoever designed this part of the trail is not messing around. It's really steep. You're on your toes basically the whole time. And I'm just taking my time because I don't want to pull a tendon or ligament or injure a muscle. I want to be able to get to the top of this and then run down the other side in comfort. This seems like a good spot to talk about the clothing that I'm using for this trip. I get asked about my hat all the time. It's just a hat and a patch that I picked up on Amazon and then merged them together. My sunglasses are Shady Rays sunglasses. I've gone through a lot of different sunglasses in the past, but just keep coming back to these. And then I'm wearing an Outdoor Research Echo sun hoodie. This has been really good, nice lightweight, but still keeping the sun off me. Then my shorts are Avatic shorts from Decathlon. They're like trail running shorts, but then I cut the liner out. I was gonna wear the pair that I have with the liner, but I've never tested them on this long of a trip before, so I wasn't sure how they do chafing wise. So instead, I went with Exoskin boxer briefs. These things are awesome. They have Teflon built into them, so I haven't had any chafage, not even a hint of chafage, and that's been awesome. And then on my feet are probably the most important thing on a trip like this, right? I'm wearing Hoka Tecton shoes. It's not my usual Speedgoat 5s, but that's because these are a little bit lighter. They're made for more of a trail running performance type thing where they're a little bit narrow at the front and they lock your foot down a little bit better for running downhill and things like that. And then for my socks, I'm wearing Exoskin toe socks. They're a great toe sock. I haven't had any hint of blisters with them either. I love them. They don't stink quite as bad as Injinjis, and they're just a little bit easier to put on as well. So far, very happy with all the clothing choices that I've made for this trip. So from here, we're gonna be dropping down a lot of elevation down into the creek, way down there, and then gaining a ton of elevation. You can see on my watch here the elevation profile, and it's intense. If I can run out most of this down section, as well as the down section at the end of the trail, then I should be able to keep above a 4 km/h pace, which will hopefully have me home in time for dinner and not have Steffi Poo mad at me for missing another dinner for going out hiking. Hey there. 20 kilometers to go. Made it to Numa campground. Gonna have a little bit of a snack here before starting that really steep ascent. It's gonna be a lot, but it's gonna be worth it once we get to the top because there's a beautiful lake that I'm gonna probably go swimming in. I'm feeling pretty good. I was able to run pretty much the entire downhill from that pass down to this campground. And I attribute that to two things. First of all, the stretching that I did last night was super helpful. Kind of allowed my muscles to loosen up a little bit. I didn't sleep really tight, and then when I woke up this morning, I felt really good. The second thing is training, but we'll talk about that once we get on trail. There's 3 different ways I train in order to help with hiking. The first one is just getting steps in. So whether that's through going on walks or going on runs, a lot of the time I get out for about 2, maybe 3 runs per week, and that helps out a lot. The second thing is strength training, and I think this is what really helps with elevation gain. So we'll see how well I've been doing over the last little while here as we hike 9 kilometers uphill. But doing things like squats, step ups, hip thrusters, all those things are gonna help out with hiking, especially keeping you from getting injured and having a robust body. The third thing is something that I haven't been doing super well lately, and that's training your feet. For me at least, my feet are one of the things that get beat up the most. So I'm always trying to strengthen my feet, whether that's through barefoot training, so wearing minimal shoes when walking the dog, when walking around town, or using my standing desk. That's something I haven't been doing that much recently, is using my standing desk, but I find using barefoot shoes and then standing desk, those 2 things combined, when I'm doing them properly, really help with my feet health. I'm definitely dehydrated again today. I'm trying to drink as much water as I can, but my stomach just isn't taking it. So yeah, luckily this isn't a longer fast pack because I'll be able to get back to my car, get back to civilization and rehydrate properly. Doing the last push of elevation here. Whew, it's looking good, but my body is falling apart and still got 15 kilometers to go after this. I think part of it is the heat as well. So hopefully taking a dip in a alpine lake will cool me off a bit. Made it to the top. Done with the elevation gain. Woo! Woo! Feels good to be up here. There's a little bit of a breeze. It's a little bit cooler. I'm already starting to feel energized and ready to try and run my way down that lake and then jump in for a swim. That was a nice dip. My body's feeling good after that. Let's hammer out this last 10 kilometers of downhill and talk about whether fast packing is a sufferfest or whether it's a fun way to see a lot of trail. All right, we're about halfway down this decline to the parking lot, and I gotta say, fast packing is a sufferfest. My body is in shambles, but there are a lot of good things that come along with fast packing too. First of all, you can cover a ton of ground, see a lot of sights. And I didn't feel like I missed out on stopping and smelling the roads. I literally stopped and smelled flowers all along the trail. I didn't feel like I was rushed when I was looking at the different sites and waterfalls. So in that sense, definitely not a knock against fast packing. But I also don't see myself fast packing for every trip from now on. I think it's a good option when you're solo because solo at camp is kind of boring, so you might as well be spending the time on trail. And for me, I'm not a marathon runner, so fast packing is more about efficiency and covering as much miles as possible. And that's what I was able to do on this trip. I probably ran about a quarter of the time the first day, and then today, probably about half the time. So I was actually doing pretty good with the running today. Also, if you're a weekend warrior and you want to cover a big trail in a weekend, then you can do it. Like I said, this trip is a 4-day trip for most people, but I was able to do it in 2 days, and I was going about 30%, 40% faster than my normal hiking pace. So easy 4-day trip turned into a hard 2-day trip. I'm not gonna actually do a full unpacking of my pack and talk about how everything did right now. I'm gonna do that on my podcast, so go check out the Gear Priority podcast with Justin Outdoors. I'm gonna do a full post-trip breakdown of all my gear, but I will have my entire Pack Wizard gear list down in the video description, so go check that out if you're curious about all the gear that I use on this trip. If you're interested in a trip where I tried to only use cottage gear, go check out this video right up here. I did it with Steven from My Life Outdoors. It was a lot of fun, but again, another trip that kind of kicked our butts.